it on the jet sweep to the short side. Up the sideline. Sam McCaffrey. He is gone.
Intercepted. It is intercepted by the Tigers. Stephen Brogan picks it off for LC.
Welcome back to the Black Swamp Football Podcast presented by the Gerken Companies. On to week 3, almost a third of the way through the season. Along with Tory, Strock, I am Lynn, Groll. Welcome back as we get prepared for some conference action in some leagues around the area this week and the last portion of non-conference for several leagues as well.
Hard to believe. We're about 33% through this thing almost, and I feel like, Lynn, we've learned some things about some teams, and then I feel like there's some teams the jury's still out on, you know, and Springfield's one of those. As impressive as they've been, how good are they? Not sure yet. Another one I was thinking about this weekend, Findlay, the Trojans, under Coach Steph Adams. Where are the Trojans? And I think that's the matchup this week, Springfield-Findlay.
It is.
So kind of a proving ground game. If you're Springfield, this would be a feather in your cap, and curious to see where Findlay is. Anthony Wayne Napoleon, I think, will be a good one. And Fremont Ross, are they the real deal? Now, you could lose a close one to Perrysburg and still be the real deal. But can they get over that hump and slay the dragon there? That's going to be interesting.
In honor of MAC action starting this week, have my Moeller Brew Barn shirt on. Got this a few weeks ago at our kickoff show down there. Nick and the crew and Chelsea were great to us and wanted to support them. If you're in that area, I would highly recommend stopping at the Brew Barn. Fantastic place.
Yeah, and I would say this, even above and beyond, if you're in the area, I would say, correct me if I'm wrong, it would be a great weekend getaway with some friends to go down there, have a meal, enjoy some of what they have to offer there, because it's not your everyday tavern, pub, bar and grill that you see around here. It's worth the trip to just see the facility and how vast it is. I think it'd be worth a day trip. I think you'd enjoy it.
You only got a taste of the pizza when you were there. There's several other things that we could partake in if we get a chance to get back, which we will.
Yes. We're going to make a point of it.
Yeah, we're a little busy on the weekends this time of year, but maybe once football season gets over, we'll have to make some more routine stops.
Yeah, that one.
Brew Barn.
Yeah, there's some classic places down there, right? Moeller Brew Barn, and then Fish Mo's in St. Henry, right?
Yeah.
And then what's the one in
Sobers?
McSilvers in Coldwater.
Yeah. Go down and check out a MAC game this fall and stop in at one of those fine establishments.
Yeah, it's a different world down there. There's some really cool places, some great people. Good Lord, I felt welcome from start to finish that weekend.
For sure. Surprises so far through 2 weeks in your mind, Coach? Is Columbus Grove being 0-2 a surprise? Is Toledo Central Catholic being 0-2 a surprise? You mentioned Springfield. Are they a shocker to you?
Springfield is a shocker to me, Lynn, and when they beat Maumee week 1, you want to talk about, like, raising a bunch of question marks. What's this say for Springfield? What's this mean for Maumee? And I'm still not sure we know, because Maumee's 0-2, but Springfield has really improved. And I'm telling you, Napoleon, even though they lost a heartbreaker week 1, Napoleon's got some very capable athletes. So I don't think we really know what Maumee is yet. I maybe can envision some frustration creeping in, because I think when Maumee looked at their schedule in the preseason, I think they envisioned 2-0, and I'm sure most teams did, or at least you hope you're going to be 2-0, but coming off that stellar year last year and returning some key guys, I think, they're maybe a little concerned. Central Catholic and Columbus Grove, not shocked because of their schedule. I think you have so much respect for those two programs, though, that you expect them to maybe pull one of those out. Now, Grove had one they could have won a lot more so than Central with their first two losses. Grove probably should have won week one and didn't, and they needed that one with the 3 games they started with.
Patrick Henry this week. We'll touch on that one. First, we got to get to our rock-solid performance from week 2, though. Going to take a break and hear from the Gerken Companies, come back and give our selection.
Who says a college degree is the only path to a fulfilling career? At the Gerken Companies, we offer rewarding livelihoods with or without a degree. Gerken provides a generous benefits package, continuous training, top-notch equipment, and a culture that rewards effort. We're looking for rock-solid performers to help build and reinforce the region's infrastructure. Whether you have construction experience or are just starting your career, apply now at gerkencompanies.com/careers.
Thank you again to the Gerken Companies for sponsoring our podcast and also the rock-solid performance of the week. We'll be handing that out for the regular season every week on our podcast. I have a pretty rock-solid performer from week 2. I don't know if you can steer me away from that one, but give me some nominations.
I only have a couple.
Me too.
I only have a couple. I think... even though a performance may be rock solid, sometimes you look at it and go, I kind of expected that, So I'm gonna give you an almost rock solid performance, and I know this doesn't count for anything. Perrysburg almost turned in a rock solid performance.
Almost?
They were an eyelash.
Doesn't get it done. With the Gerken Companies.
Doesn't get it done with the Gerken. It's not, you think they say, well, we almost did a good job paving that road. Yeah. No, there's no such thing. But Dirk Connor and his crew, man, in hostile territory, came within whiskers of knocking off a really good Olentangy team, but they didn't get it done. The Defiance Bulldogs, their effort late in the first 2 games has been rock solid. They staved off a 2-point try by Ottawa Glandorf on Friday night to hang on for their second consecutive razor-thin victory, so kudos to Coach Rittenauer. But the one I keep coming back to, Lynn, is what we witnessed at Clymer Stadium Friday night, and I don't know if it gets any more rock solid than what Liberty Benton did in hostile territory against a perennial power. They absolutely decimated Columbus Grove. So those would be my nominees, with Liberty Benton the leader.
Liberty Benton is my pick.
Okay.
Another one that I would throw out there any other week outside of a Liberty Benton onslaught that they put on. Fairview over Delta, 632.
Another great candidate.
Yeah. Defiance for me, they're going to have to do this against some of the better teams.
Gotcha. Can't argue with that.
Without George Eggers, Napoleon, and OG, still trying to figure out maybe where the Titans are at. But if they can do it against Walpock, hey, they may be the favorite for the rock-solid performance to end Walpock's WBL winning streak.
If they do it against Walpock, I don't care if St. Henry beats Marion local. I was going to say Walpock 6 straight.
6 in a row.
Yeah. That could be
both of those happen.
Then, have we ever had rock solid?
We have not.
That would be hard to beat. But could you honestly, could any victory top if St. Henry were to pull it off? I don't know that you can top that.
Boy, yeah, they're a 30-point dog according to Drew Pastor's fantastic.
Is that what it is?
Yep, 95% chance of winning that one. Does Tim Goodwin and his Flyers, according to Ohio Fantastic 50.
How do you argue with
now? If Defiance could knock off Walpock, that would be pretty darn impressive too.
I wonder what that line is.
I don't know.
It is according to Drew Pastor.
I can pull it up if you're not real quick.
Yeah, you're better at navigating that than I am.
Let's see, Region 10.
It's still early, right? So Drew Pastor's sample size maybe isn't what it will be in 5 weeks.
Yeah. Win by 25, 92% chance. So not far behind Marion Local's odds over St. Henry this week.
Look forward to talking about Defiance and
Walpock has to go to Defiance, and Marion Local has to go to St. Henry. Tough road challenges for both. Maybe their toughest road challenge of the season, possibly. Find out.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And how about the Liberty Benton Eagles? Kudos to them, right?
Congratulations, Liberty Benton, Scott Garlock and crew. Our Gerken Companies rock-solid performance from week 2. Robbie Myers and myself will get down to Liberty Benton. Probably be Thursday, Coach Garlock, if you're listening. I'll get in touch with you and figure out a way to get you those wristbands. Walpock does have to go to Bath at the end of the year, too. There's another one for them. And Van Wert.
Bath, Lynn, it was interesting. I was talking
about Bath? Are they, maybe not a surprise, but throwing their name in the hat for WBL contention?
Yeah, and I talk to, sometimes cheat. We both cheat sometimes. Well, I wouldn't even call it cheating, right? When you do what we do, you want to be educated and informed, right? A couple years ago, remember the inside scoop Travis Cooper gave me about Salina at our kickoff show. And boy, oh boy, did that come to fruition. I was talking to somebody that knows the WBL very well that I respect this weekend, and he said, if you're thinking about Lima Bath, when you hear Lima Bath, if you're thinking about 3-4 years ago Lima Bath, get that out of your mind. They are different. And I said, how can they be that different in such a short amount of time, right? 'Cause you can't recruit kids and things like that. He said, well, it starts with their coach. You talk about Frank Russell all the time. Starts with him, and then he said their linemen aren't big, soft guys, with a little bit of pudge and stuff. He said they are men across the board. And then, they'll spread you out, and they have athletes all over. So it's not your daddy's Lima Bath. I mean, this is a different version. So I think we'd be remiss if we didn't include them.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Could it be a 9-0 clash, week 10 at Bath, Walpock and the Wildcats?
From what I'm gathering,
I think those two have kind of set themselves apart from the rest of the WBL. St. Mary's off to an 0-2 start. Now Defiance is 2-0. Find out a little bit more about the Bulldogs this week with Walpock in town. Van Wert's 2-0, but hasn't played the level of competition of a Walpock yet, or maybe a Bath.
No, and we're going to learn a lot about Van Wert this week.
Yeah, no doubt about it. For sure, Coach. Last week's pick'em results, I was 35-11, Braden Martin 37-13, you were 36-13, Aaron Barajas 32-17, and Rick Stidham 30-19. Room for improvement, Rick, if you're coming back.
Yeah, listen, Rick, sometimes the best thing to do in situations like you faced last week is listen to Lynn and I, and then maybe base your picks a little bit around what we say. But there's a learning curve. It's not easy.
Right.
And
we try to steer you in the right direction, but not everybody takes our advice.
No, they don't, and sometimes maybe for good reason. But, man, that was tight this week.
Yeah, it was. Yep.
And I've got about 12 games that I have starred, Lynn, that I think are, maybe the old coin flip game, maybe more than that, but I have 12 that really stand out.
Okay. Overall, I am 70-22.761%. You are 73-23.760. Tight as it can be.
Yeah.
And Braden is 75-24.758%. We're going to have Braden on our show tonight, but he had some other obligations pop up, or he would have been our guest picker, but we do get Braden's picks each week.
Yep.
Since he's our accountant and helps us tally our pick'ems every week. But
yeah, if you can, I know you and I compete against each other, but honestly, if either of us can beat Braden Martin on any given year, I'd say that's a feather in the cap.
Absolutely. This guy knows what's going on everywhere around the state.
He does. He knows where the Moeller Brew Barn is, too.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does. Yeah. Get on martinrpi.com. It takes his rankings a little bit. I think it halfway through the season before things kind of project the right way. Same thing with Ohio Fantastic 50, Drew Pastors.
Yeah,
And by that point, they're pretty darn close.
You can set your watch by it. Looking at a couple last week, and honestly, I forgot about Drew Pastor the last couple weeks, because I'm a big, has always been a big Cal Preps fan, you know, but that's changed a little bit with what they do, and so Drew Pastor, you could tell it was early because there's been a couple of games so far, you're like, no, that's not right. I can't believe they have that. So they need more of a sample size.
Yeah, yep, for sure. All right, let's talk about week 3. We're going to start in the MAC. Coach, Anna 2-0 at Minster. How about Anna's sophomore quarterback? Logan Ziegenbusch. He's 21 of 30 passing, 307 yards, 5 TDs, 30 keepers, 333 yards, and 6 touchdowns. He's accounted for 11 touchdowns and over 600 yards here the first couple of weeks. Minster has won the last 3 meetings, though, in this matchup.
And it's at Minster.
Yes.
The one thing, I love this. Obviously, I'd prefer to run the ball more than I throw it as a coach, but when you do have to throw, you need to be efficient. 21 of 30.
21 of 30, yes. 307 yards, 5 TDs, 30 keepers, 333 yards, 6 touchdowns.
And a sophomore.
Yes.
That's impressive.
Yes.
It's going to take a minute or two for the Minster Wildcats to get back in my good graces, because one of my blemishes last week, I took them against the Afrocentric Nubians, who the more I learn, they're a pretty good football team. But I like Anna to go on the road and get it done at Minster. I think just a fuzz too much youth at Minster. Man, they graduated some studs last year. And I think it's going to take a minute for them to kind of restock things.
Beat Anna 41-14 a year ago.
It's a big gap.
It is.
It's a big gap, but I like the Rockets.
You like the Rockets.
We'll stick with them.
I'm going to go with the Rockets in that one as well, and the outstanding start that their sophomore QB is off to. Fort Recovery 2-0 under Wes Winning. At Coldwater, who lost to Clinton Massey a week ago, and boy, an absolute rock fight between those two programs. Coldwater 25-0 against the Indians going back to 1995. Can Wes Winning and crew find a way, maybe not to win this game as they're trying to build this program at Fort Recovery, but can they at least hang around into the second half?
No, and I picked against the Indians last week. Picked against them at Allen East, I believe.
Yes.
And so I'm tickled for Coach Winning to go on the road and get that win. Class act, as we've said. But you're getting Coldwater at a bad time. They're stinging a little bit after a heartbreaking loss, and I think Coldwater rolls somewhere in the neighborhood of 35-7.
Okay.
Something like that.
I'm with you on that score in that area.
And it's no disrespect.
Yeah.
It's more respect for Coldwater.
Yeah.
Because I think Wes Winning is on the right track.
Right, yep. I'll take Coldwater in that matchup as well. Parkway 0-2 is at New Bremen. New Bremen has won the last 7 in this series.
Yep, no doubt, New Bremen. Parkway, after last week, I can't even remember who they played now. I just remember going in, I thought they had a puncher's chance last week, and I was disappointed in the result of that. Cannot think who the Panthers played.
Adolphus Jefferson, 26-14 loss.
Okay, that was one, if you're going to turn the corner as a program and you're stepping out of conference play, because it's not the Jefferson of days gone by, they're a little bit different, lower numbers and some youth in that. And I thought Parkway needed to...
was one they needed to probably get now that they get into the MAC. Wins are hard to come by.
Oh, jeez.
You know?
Yep. Give me New Bremen in this one, especially at home. Now, if Parkway can pull the rug out from under somebody, then maybe they are on their way, but not yet.
Yeah. New Bremen has been dominant the first 2 weeks.
Oh, man.
90-0 over Wayne Trace and Covington. Both those teams are 0-2. But 90-0, no matter who your plans, pretty darn impressive.
Sure is.
At Versailles next week, then home with Marion local at Fort Recovery, at Minster, home with Coldwater, at St. Henry, and at St. John's is Chris Schmidt's crew down there in New Bremen, but I think it could be a similar result from the first 2 weeks for New Bremen this week.
I do too. I like them at home.
Yep. Versailles 2-0 is at Delphus St. John's, Blue Jays 0-2. Versailles 2-0. Versailles has won 7 straight over the Blue Jays. Delphus St. John's, they just don't have the numbers right now. Graduated a nice senior class that got healthy at the end of last year and made a run to the regional finals. Versailles, too much for me in this matchup.
Yep, as always, there are certain teams that I have trouble picking against unless they're playing a very small crop of other teams, and Versailles is in that category. I like Versailles to go on the road and take care of business. But we know St. John's will be well prepared, and they're going to play their tails off for 48 minutes.
Shelby will have them ready, but they don't have quite the troops to hang in that matchup with Versailles. Going to take another break and come back and talk about the big one in the MAC. Maybe the biggest Division 7 game in all the state. Coming up.
Yep.
Marion local going to St. Henry. We'll be back right after these messages.
Hard-working individuals have been the heart of the Gerken Companies for generations. Together we construct the highways and infrastructure that strengthen our communities. Gerken is seeking rock-solid performers. We offer generous benefits, continuous training, top-notch equipment, and a culture that rewards effort. Want to be part of something big, steady, and stable with room to grow? Whether you're experienced or just starting your career, we encourage you to apply at gerkencompanies.com/careers.
The Swanton Welding Company proudly supports our local student athletes and coaches. We're committed to being your local steel fabrication company in Northwest Ohio and building projects across the country. For job opportunities at the Swanton Welding Company, visit www.swantonweld.com or visit them at 407 Zider Way in Swanton. Thank you to the Gerken Companies and also our good friend Norm Zider at the Swanton Welding Company. Swanton Welding presents our Rise and Rewind Saturday morning show, 9 a.m. Saturday morning to recap week number 3. YouTube Live again. You can subscribe, and that will tell you when we go on the air each week. It costs you nothing. It's just you hit the subscribe button and you'll be ready to go when we open our live link each Saturday morning.
And I like how folks can chime in and ask a question as long as it's appropriate. And we're 2 for 2. It's been really good. And Lynn, I'll be Saturday night on the road to Salzman Stadium at Bluffton University. The Beavers open the 2025 campaign.
Okay.
Under the lights. Now they have these brand new lights, beautiful lights, new turf field, alumni field, and they have one night game. So
they playing any high school games there?
There could be. I think maybe part of the grand plan is maybe host some playoff games in that, but they would need to bring in some portable bleachers for the visitors side.
Visitors side are pretty small.
Yeah.
Home side are pretty good.
Home side's pretty good.
Be a good spot for a Division 7, Division 6 game, I would say. Regional final.
I would agree. I think it would be.
Central location for a MAC team playing somebody up this way?
I think so. And, the Beavers, we'll talk a little bit about it on Rise and Rewind. I'll break down the Heartland Conference. I know our listeners are dying to hear how the Heartland's
I know Mike Leonard's back at Franklin.
That makes everybody's job tougher.
See, Mount St. Joe's good.
Yeah, it's funny, Lynn, some people may not know, some do, but you got a little background info.
Mike Leonard's a guy that should be coaching Division 1 football.
I agree.
If you want to get a good coach, I don't care where he goes.
I know.
I bet Alabama wouldn't be 0-1 with Mike Leonard.
I guarantee you that they might not be. It's like Don Meyer, legendary college basketball coach, winningest coach in the history of college hoops until Mike Krzyzewski broke his record.
Right.
But Don Meyer lived in obscurity at NAIA and NCAA Division II schools, and he loved it that way. I mean, Don Meyer... But
Mike Leonard, boy. Great guy, and he's a tough cat. I ran some half marathons down in Indy, and one year, the night before you go and pick up your packet, and I saw Mike and ran into him. We started talking, and he said, I don't know if I can run tomorrow. I sprained my ankle. I think he was out mowing the yard and stepped in a hole and sprained his ankle. That dude was out there the next day running, and he was by me. I didn't even see him after that.
But you said he's a great guy, right?
Oh, yeah, great dude.
But he's got that fire in his belly, doesn't he?
And he is a mad scientist drawing up offensive plays.
You know what's funny? We think of great coaches, and everybody thinks it's just the guys and gals you see on TV, depending on sport. But there are so many great coaches that no one's ever heard of.
Yeah.
How many listeners have heard of Mike Leonard? I'll bet you less than 1%.
Probably.
You know? And how many had heard of John Gallardi, the all-time winningest coach from St. John's, Minnesota?
Yes. I think there's a documentary on that if you search.
Well, there's a great short YouTube clip. It's called St. John. 7 minutes long. I show it in my Principles of Coaching class. Because I want to expose kids to, they think outside of Nick Saban, there's never been another college football coach, you know. But John Gallardi, unbelievable.
Did it a different way, too. 2-hour practices, never hit.
Called Winning with No's. No calisthenics, no conditioning, no tackling during practice. Everything that's conventional to people, John Gallardi didn't do it. And he won 4 national titles. Look up St. John. John Gallardi, 7 minutes long. It's a great piece.
Yeah, for sure. All right, the big one in the MAC this week. Marion Local 2-0 at St. Henry 2-0. Marion Local has won 18 straight over the Redskins. St. Henry's last win over Marion Local, 10-7 in 2009. Flyers held Crestview last week to 18 yards on 12 rushes to start the game, and they had 4 tackles for loss in that span. Against South Adams, Indiana, and Crestview, Marion Local has allowed 44 yards on 47 rushes and allowed only 10 of 29 passes completed. They have 8 interceptions. Foes in 2 games. Foes have ran 76 plays for 139 yards. They graduated that great defense from a year ago, and after 2 weeks, no signs of dropping off. Offensively, the Flyers have rushed for 316 yards on 55 attempts and completed 20 passes for 369 yards. Balanced. They don't really ever do anything offensively that just blows you away.
Never.
But they do their job and they don't commit mistakes. Can St. Henry wake up the echoes of the Beckmans, the Hardings, Hoyings, Lachey's, Brunswicks, Himmelgarns, Niekamps, Putoffs, Ulenakes? Can they do it? They have the Flyers at home in that 66-game winning streak.
Think about, Lynn, carrying the torch for all those names, and many more, but all those names you mentioned, carrying the torch, having a chance to represent those guys and their legacies. What an opportunity. And I'll say this, before you get into X's and O's and all of that stuff, job one is making sure your kids are right mentally. Now, in the MAC conference, you just assume teams are locked in mentally, but when you've lost, would you say 18 straight?
That's correct, 18 straight.
Okay, when you've lost 18 straight, even the most mentally tough young man is going to have a little bit of doubt in their mind. And so, before anything else matters, your guys got to be ready mentally. And so you know going in, it's like playing Liberty Center. It's going to be 48 minutes, sometimes more, of a heavyweight fight. And when you walk out of the ring, you're going to be beaten badly. But do you have the resolve to stay in there?
Yeah. We went down to the Moore Brew Barn and interviewed Josh Worley and the St. Henry kids. And I kind of jokingly said on one of our first podcasts, because he talked about these markers that they put on their helmets.
Tomahawk?
Yeah, all these markers from past greats. Just kind of joking that it'd be cool to have those. Well, a couple weeks later in the mail, I get this. It's those stickers that they put on their helmets, courtesy of Coach Whirling. And so I thought, I'm going to have to figure out a way to put these on something, but what am I going to put them on? I don't have a St. Henry helmet.
Did you get this?
I got a mini St. Henry helmet. I found a place in Columbus that has mini helmets, and St. Henry was one of them, and I got that.
That might be my favorite touch.
That's pretty cool.
The Ohio flag.
Yeah. Yes.
I'll be darned. Now, I'm going to admit.
So I'm going to have you put those on there, and this is going to stay on our desk for the podcast this season, because we always like to add different props to our studio here, and I actually forgot to put out some of our props this week. I got a Tenora jersey and a Eden jersey down here.
Oh, nice.
Got to put those out.
I'm going to get this decaled up here, Lynn, as we're doing that.
I'm going to tell you the meaning behind those.
Okay.
If you give me just a second, I'm going to put these out. And we have a Southview helmet down here too, courtesy of Steve Hardy. So I'm going to have you put those on there, and that's going to stay out all year. And if you have something that you want to give to us to put out, we'd be glad to put it out in our studio. So here's the meaning behind those markers. Josh Rilling has a purpose for each one that mimics the tribe. The arrowhead, the young of the tribe collect the arrowheads. Only freshmen and JV can get these.
Ooh, I like that.
And that is a Napke, named after Jay Napke, a former great at St. Henry. The weapon, you must master the weapon before you can go to battle. A Borgerding, named after Tony Borgerding, only given to a tremendous practice effort.
I like it.
There's another one, the warrior. You can go to battle for your team once trained. A whirling, named after John Whirling, is earned on Friday nights as a warrior who battles through ailment to will the team to victory. And then the redskin, the greatest honor of them all, only given to a captain for tremendous leadership. The chief, the Hardings, St. Henry's most honored post-game award, awarded to a captain who upholds and embodies what it is to be a redskin.
That is awesome. That is...
Thank you, Coach, for sending those stickers to us.
And I assume Coach Whirling's the one that gave you the description of each award?
Yeah, he sure did.
That gives a little meaning behind, it's not just any helmet sticker.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, you think of those names. Ooh.
Unbelievable. And you know, Lynn, it's funny. Now, time heals all wounds.
Yeah.
Okay, but, you know, I'm putting decals on a St. Henry helmet, and actually, I'm honored to do that. I really am, with the tradition there, but my senior season ended.
I know.
At the hands of the Redskins. So, you know, even a year ago might have been too soon for me.
Yeah.
But I've had some counseling in that, and so I'm past that. But, yeah, in 92, St. Henry beat us, and Tom Hoying, Bobby Hoying's younger brother, was a quarterback, and Tim Beckman was the head coach. And I've said this before on the podcast. I remember going out for that opening coin toss, and we were NWAL champs. We were good. I mean, we had some bad dudes on our football team. And I remember going out for the opening toss at Lima Stadium, and the St. Henry dudes came across. And we had played Columbus Grove in the playoffs. Fremont St. Joe had a lineman go to Louisville, Ben Hall. And so we'd seen some things. We hadn't seen anything. They were just different. They were 2 inches taller. They were 20 pounds heavier. A little bit of stubble. They just looked like men. And I remember thinking, oh boy, it's going to be tough. Thought we could win, and we battled, but if we'd have played them 10 times, Lynn, maybe we win 1 or 2, maybe, on a perfect night, but they were just like Marion local today. They didn't make mistakes. They weren't jumping off sides on 4th and 2. You know, they weren't doing those things, man. They weren't fumbling the ball.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just really hard to beat a team that doesn't beat themselves.
Right.
And Marion local in a nutshell.
Right. Yeah, well, if you want to watch my colleague's game that night, you can go on YouTube. It is on there. 1992, St. Henry and Liberty Center. I watched that a couple weeks ago, actually.
You were
kind of running for your life every time you tried to throw the ball.
Yeah, and you know what's funny? It's so cool that LC Tigers Live has put those up there. And certain things I thought I remembered aren't the way I remember them when you watch some of those games, you know?
Right.
Because we live in this world of highlights, okay? So as a former player in any sport, any gender, I'm not talking me in football, you remember the great moments, right? The big touchdown or big shot you made or the big clutch hit, whatever it is, you remember those. You tend to forget, or at least I do, tend to forget the bonehead mistakes you made and the wide open whatever you missed. And so you watch the entire game and you're like, did a couple good things, but God, I did some dumb things. So I don't know if I love the full games. I liked the highlights better, Lynn.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I'll tell you what, having that and what those stickers mean and signify gives you goosebumps.
It does.
And if you don't know the history of St. Henry football, I'd like for you to go research it because, oh boy. In Ohio high school football, kind of after the Newark Catholics, small schools, it was St. Henry until Marion local has kind of taken that over. Kirtland you can throw in there as well. Coldwater too. But in the 90s, St. Henry. Tim Beckman, and speaking of Tim Beckman, we'll have him on our football show, sponsored by KK Collision. October 1st, we will have Tim Beckman on video with us.
What an honor that he would take the time to do that. Tells you the type of guy he is. But, you know, there are certain names now that strike fear, and this lends itself to what you said. I don't mean to berate the point, but, you know, you hear Liberty Center, and, ooh, man, they're good. Marion Local, Kirtland, all those teams you said, but Coldwater, you know, recently. But back in the day, it was St. Henry. Like, nobody wants to play St. Henry. They slayed everybody at every level, and boy, oh boy. Coach Whirling, I'd love to see him resurrect that bad boy.
I think he's working on it.
He is.
They got a tough one this week, and I think he can, bring all those guys back for St. Henry, and,
Well, it's kind of like, so if all those guys roll in...
Can they wake up the echoes of those guys? Can they do it?
Let me ask you this, Lynn. I was thinking about this last night watching, the Miami-Notre Dame game last week, right? Every former Miami Hurricane star's there, right?
Yeah.
Okay? Last night, North Carolina. Now, they don't have as much football lineage as Miami does, but Lawrence Taylor's in the house, Michael Jordan, Roy Williams, the great female soccer player, Mia Hamm. So, as a coach, would you like to have all that hoopla, or would you...
distraction, maybe in a way, but...
And would you feel like you let them down?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
I mean, if you're Coach Belichick walking off that field last night, they got it handed to them.
It was ugly.
Other than their first drive, TCU absolutely ran them out of that stadium. And TCU might have the best quarterback no one's ever heard of.
Could be right.
He was good, but I don't know if I'd like all that. You talk about some pressure, but those St. Henry guys, they understand.
I think Coach Whirling understands the past.
He does.
He played in it.
He does.
Embraces it.
Yep. And those guys that have been in the battles, they understand what it takes to build a program. They're not just some armchair coach that expects you to win every game, like some of these fans are. They get it, and I think they respect the steps he's taken. I really do.
Right. Yeah, I like Marion Local. I know we've talked a ton about St. Henry here.
Yeah.
But...
I'm sorry.
It's just too tough of an ask for St. Henry.
I do too. I like Marion Local. St. Henry's got to give themselves a chance. You can't win the game in the first quarter, right? Or first half, but you can sure lose it. You can lose it by turning the ball over, digging yourself a hole, and so on and so forth. And if St. Henry, now they're going to have to play near perfect.
Yeah.
Near perfect. They can't turn it over. all those things you mentioned a few minutes ago. You got to be clean penalty-wise. Field position's going to be huge. You got to flip the field. And even sometimes your best isn't good enough against the Flyers.
Well, the Flyers have outscored their first two foes 119-0 in South Adams, who they beat the first week. Rolled over Belmont last week 53-0. I don't know nothing about Belmont, but it was 53-0, and they lost 56-0 to Marion Local. I got a pretty trusted source that told me Marion Local's defense has not dropped off one bit.
Even with the graduates?
Yes, this year. I know it's only been 2 weeks, but a very trusted source told me Marion Local, they're pretty much just as good, but one position. Otherwise, they're just as good as they have been.
You know, I won't get into all that. I was going to talk about when you're breaking down film as a coach and you're scouting teams and you're looking for matchups, maybe where you think you can win and where chinks are in their armor. I mean, Marion Local just doesn't seem to ever have any chinks.
They're so dang fast. They're so dang tough.
And they are all those things, and then they play as a team. Like, do they even have names? I know not a lot of high school teams. Do they even have names on their jerseys?
No.
I mean, they all look the same. You know what I mean? Yeah. And another thing about them, and Kirtland, you could say the same. Their uniforms, you look at Marion Local's uniforms, there's probably been 5 times they've been in the state finals, and I'm like, aren't you guys due for new unis? You know, they still got Russell Athletic jerseys, or they did have, and you get these teams rolling in with all their Nike stuff and the Maslin.
5 different jerseys.
5 different jerseys.
Different helmet.
Yeah, and Marion Local, Tim Goodwin's just like, I know you're a freshman or sophomore jerseys, the stripes aren't the same on the sleeves, you're good, you're fine. They don't get caught up in the frills. And do you ever see a bunch of hoopla on social media?
Nope. Nope.
But why don't more people adopt that way of doing things,
Great question. I've always wondered that myself, but we're both going to take Marion Local for that matchup. See if anybody from Northwest Ohio is headed down to St. Henry for that game. I'm sure there are a few.
And, you said
Brayton
Martin.
Is not. Denny, I know, is going to see his daughter in Southern Ohio, so he can't attend. He texted me today.
I would bet $1 if I were a betting person that Jeff Smith, the former Tenora
What about Jeff Sleesman?
Ooh.
Where in the world is Jeff Sleesman this Friday night?
I'm going to say that's a skosh out of his range.
Oh, is it?
He'll go to Fort Wayne. I mean, that's in his neck of the woods. Yeah. He'll go to Toledo. Mercer County, I think he's got a radius drawn, and I don't think Sleesman's going to stray that far.
Okay, we'll find out.
We'll find out.
Where he is.
Yeah.
You never know he's going to show up here on a Saturday morning. Let's move it to the Western Buckeye League coach as they get into week 2. If you want to see a good game, I know this is maybe not a couple of teams that are on your radar as maybe state championship caliber, but Elida and Shawnee, going back to 2020, Elida has won by 5 and by 4 points twice. Shawnee has won by 6 in OT, by 4 and by 7 last year. This game has been mighty tight. Elida and Shawnee.
Yep, and Lynn, I don't think this year is any exception. This was one of the 12 I told you that I had starred as a toss-up, and this is how razor thin it is to me. I'm going with Shawnee, but only because they're at home. That's how close it is. And then watching some Shawnee clips and things, they're a little bit better. I mean, they're getting close. I like some things I've seen out of them offensively, but I'm taking Shawnee at home, only because they're at home.
Okay. I'm going to take Elida in this matchup.
Are you?
I am. Yep. I like the Bulldogs to pick up the one on the road.
Okay. But again, you think it's going to be much different than the last 5? 4?
Probably not. No,
okay.
Probably not.
Well, I agree.
A couple of teams that are 0-2 overall, 0-1 in the WBO. Otto Glandorf goes to Kenton. OG leads the series in the playoff era 28-25. Kenton has just 5 wins since going 5-4 in 2020. Who who gets off the schneid here in week number 3 in this matchup?
Not an easy pick, but I did not star this one as a toss-up because I don't think it is. Coach Ken Schreiner and the Ottawa Glandorf Titans get the win.
Agreed. I'll take the Titans as well. This could be a dandy matchup. These two teams have put up a bunch of points and a bunch of yards here in the last few years when they've matched up. Bath 2-0, Van Wert 2-0, both 1-0 in the WBL. Bath won 43-37 a year ago. Van Wert won 64-42 in 2023. Van Wert won 42-14 in 2022 and 51-7 4 years ago. These two teams know how to put up the points and the yardage, but I like Bath to go into Egger Stadium and win by a couple scores at least.
Yeah, I like what Bath is doing offensively. I think they surrender a few more points than I'd like to see. This is a game I have starred, toss-up game. The fact it's at Van Wert, boy, they're tough at home under Coach Recker, man. But again, just based on some intel and what I'm hearing, and I may regret this, but I'm going to go with Bath. I just think they're too powerful offensively, and they may give up 35.
Yep.
But I think they're going to score 55.
36 a week ago to St. Mary's, 21 to Indian Lake, but we can maybe another shootout, but I think they put up at least 40.
I think so too.
Yeah, I'll take Bath in that matchup. All right, Walpock 2-0, 1-0 in the Western Buckeye League is at Defiance, who is also coming into this matchup with that same identical record. Walpock has won 18 straight WBL games since a 16-13 loss at Defiance 2 years ago. About Caleb Moyer's numbers to start the season for Walpock, we saw him in week 1. He's 30 of 35, 357 yards, 3 touchdowns. Caden Page, 13 grabs, 181 yards and a touchdown, and then Jarrett Mullen, their fine running back, 184 yards rushing and 95 yards receiving so far.
I like this game. And we talked on Rise and Rewind, Lynn. I don't know how many people that looked at Defiance's schedule based on who they graduated, looked at their schedule back in June or whatever and said, I think they're going to be 2-0. I don't. If you did say that, then you need to, join us on here. Walpock's a different animal. Here's the bottom line, the key for Defiance. They got to possess the football. Okay, and if you look at why the Clay Walpock game was 7-0 at halftime, should have been 7-7 for all intents and purposes. Clay had 2 drives. One stalled right around the 20 maybe. The other one stalled at about the half-yard line. Those 2 possessions ate a ton of clock. And so if Caleb Moyer doesn't have the ball in his hands, him, Caden Page, and the running back's name, I never remember it, Mullen, he's a jitterbug. If they don't have the ball, they can't score. So Defiance has to bleed the clock, and I'm talking snapping that thing with 2 seconds on the play clock. It may not be glamorous, trust me, but if Walpock doesn't have the ball, they can't hurt you. The question is, Defiance has run the ball really, really well. Had 2 guys over 100 last week again, Gibbs and Camaso. Can they do that against Wapakoneta at home? And Coach Rittenauer has infused this program with some belief. Not that they didn't have belief, but I think his Defiance roots and being part of the program for as long as he has, I think the kids are feeding off that, Lynn. I truly do. Could they pull it off? They could. Will they? I'm not so certain that I can pick them. I'll take Walpock.
Yeah, I think Walpock really turns that offense loose. 28 points the first week, 24 a week ago against Salina. I think they really get it cranked up. Their linebackers are really good. I don't know that Defiance can just methodically work the ball down the field, because I think Walpock will hold them out of the end zone once they get into the red zone. And field goals aren't going to win this game. Walpock's they're just too much. They're a handful this season. I think they put up 35 plus and get rolling.
Okay. Yeah, I would have trouble.
Defiance has lived on the edge here the first 2 weeks. I don't think you can stick with winning those close ones.
So you think Walpock's ready to just explode?
I do.
Yeah.
I think they haven't, that Clay game, they just didn't have the ball like you said.
Yeah.
But boy, they're so darn explosive, and Defiance is going to have to complete some passes.
Yeah,
I don't think they can rely on the running game. I don't think they're going to run for, if they get 125, I think it'd be pretty good against this defense. You're going to have to throw.
Yeah, and I can see Walpock with what Defiance has done on the ground, loading, overloading the box and locking up, on the flanks with their corners or whatever, outside backers, and saying, okay, you ain't running it on us, you got to beat us through the air. If they do that, can Defiance somehow get 3.5 yards of carry and move the chains? Because it's one thing to say we're going to run the ball and control the clock. Well, you better be able to move the chains.
Yeah, if you're getting yard or two, that's not going to work.
No.
Yeah, I think Walpock really turns it loose this week.
Let me ask you this, and one more thing. I don't want to... when we get the halftime score update, Walpock Defiance, halftime score, what are you thinking? Depending on, something crazy happening.
I'm going to say 17-0, 21-0. Okay. If you can limit Walpock's possessions. Now, if they get 5-6 possessions, it's going to be a little more difficult.
Yeah. I think
Defiance needs to hold them for the whole game. I know this is probably crazy to say 6 possessions.
Yeah.
And can you stop them twice?
Yeah.
With the weapons they have?
Yeah. So
I'd give them 28.
Yep. I'd say that'd be a great effort. Can you outscore them? Can you...
Right.
It's tough to do. They're a different animal, but Defiance will be flying high.
Yeah, they will. They'll be ready to go at home, no doubt about it.
Yep, so I think the first quarter, it's going to be pretty emotional. It's going to be slugfest. But you can have all the emotion in the world, and if Caleb Moyer finds Caden Page, if he gets behind your secondary, then all that's out the window. I'm excited to see.
Yeah, for sure. Last WBO game this week, St. Mary's at Salina, a matchup of two teams that are winless so far, and 0-1 in the WBO. What are you liking this one, Coach?
Well, I'm going to go with the home team again, and I think on paper a close matchup. I got burnt last week by riding with the Rough Riders. It ain't going to happen 2 weeks in a row. I'm going with the Salina Bulldogs at home.
I'm going with the Rough Riders.
Are you?
I am. Salina's got 14 points so far this season. Now they played St. Henry and Walpock, two very good teams. Concerned maybe a little bit about the offense now. St. Mary's only had 6 against Gallion. They did score 36 a week ago against Bath.
Yeah.
But just like that, St. Mary's offense a little bit better at this juncture of the season.
Yeah.
But I think it's a toss-up game.
Yep, I do too.
Blanchard Valley Conference gets going this week. Van Buren 1-1 at Pandora Gilboa 1-1. PG has outscored Van Buren 188-27 and posted 4 shutouts since the Black Knights won 34-8 in 2015. Van Buren leads the BBC with 843 yards of offense so far.
I think Van Buren's a little bit better. They battled Lipsick, and had their chances in that one. Lipsick's a well-coached football team, and so Van Buren's a little bit better. Pandora Gilboa, they were still in the pulling that off against Columbus Grove, and they got brought back down last week. But I like them to regroup at home against Van Buren. Maybe a close game. But I could also see a game where Pandora Gilboa gets rolling in this one.
Yeah, I like the Rockets in this matchup. Favored to win by 15, according to Drew Pastor's Fantastic 50. 80% chance PG has in that matchup against Van Buren. They have Lipsick next week, and then at Arlington, and then Ada late in the season. Those are the closest games that Drew Pastor's has them in once Blanchard Valley Conference action gets going. But give us both the Rockets. Lipsick 2-0 at Elmwood. Elmwood has lost 14 straight and been outscored 89-13 this year. Lipsick averaging almost 400 yards per game, but they've given up 932 yards, have the Vikings.
Well, if you're Elmwood and you want to kind of turn this ship around, this would be one to get at home. I just haven't seen enough life out of the Royals to pick them. I like Joe Kirkendall and the Lipsick Vikings.
I agree. I have Lipsick as well in that matchup. Macomb, 1-1, is at Liberty Benton. LB has allowed just 219 yards so far and only 3 points and wins over OG and the game we saw against Columbus Grove a week ago. Boy, are they impressive up front. Playmakers on offense with the Elkert twins. They're just huge. You know, I'm going to nickname C.J. Barbara, the great defensive end. I'm going to nickname him the Detonator. He just blows things up in the backfield.
He does. That's a good one.
He's the Detonator for me.
I like it. And I'm telling you, he's playing with an edge, man. I remember him last year in the Grove game, and I liked what I saw out of him a year ago as a junior, but he's at a different level. He looks mad.
Yeah.
He looks mad.
He looks unblockable.
Yes, he does.
That whole first quarter, he was just wrecking every play. Grove had no chance.
No, they didn't. And it's like a high school kid playing with elementary kids at recess is what he made it look like.
He's like that dude in Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
The guy that sells the concert tickets?
Yeah. Well, the linebacker.
Oh, you're talking the football part.
When Spicoli wrecks his car and blames the other team and goes out there and just foaming at the mouth. And
like the water boy.
Yeah, I'm forgetting his name right now.
Yeah.
That was back in your day. You should remember that.
No, I remember. He ordered the pizza in class.
Well, Spicoli, but his buddy that played football, I'll find
I know who you're talking about, but it's been a minute since I've seen that.
It's an 80s classic.
Oh, yeah.
Charles Jefferson.
See, I wouldn't have got that, but I remember now that you say it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not fair when Barbara gets cranked up. And how many times do you see a guy who will play in the defensive trenches and then split out and play receiver?
Yeah.
That speaks to his athleticism.
Yeah. Well, his little brother missed him on a pass a week ago.
Yeah. I got to believe that was a source of some controversy at home.
I would assume.
Because they split him out and he was wide open and cost Big Brother one.
Yes. Yeah. Can anybody in the BVC avoid a running clock against this Liberty Benton team from what you've witnessed? They have Macomb, then they have Riverdale, Elmwood, both 0-2, Arlington 2-0, Pandora, Gilboa, Lipsick, Arcadia, and Van Buren.
Off the top of my head, I'm going to say no. But there could be a night where there's crazy wind.
Well, this Friday we're going to get wind. They're saying 35, 40 miles an hour.
Okay. I did not see that. Okay. And then if in the past 25 years, if there was anybody you thought could disrupt a party, it would be Chris Algie and his Macomb Panthers. This Liberty Benton team is one of the best Liberty Benton teams I've seen in the Blanchard Valley Conference, including Macomb state champions, including some of the great Liberty Benton teams back with Brandon Kraft and then Aaron Kraft and those guys. One of the best BVC teams I've ever seen. And I coached in that league for 7 years, okay? This is one of the best I've ever seen in that league because of what they have up front. There's always athletes in the BVC, you know, but I have not seen a team this complete up front on both sides of the ball. I just haven't in my, in the last 25 years.
Take your word for it.
Yeah.
They looked impressive to me. Maybe this isn't the Columbus Grove team we've seen here recently, but still what they did was pretty darn impressive against an Andy Schaefer coach team. So you don't see that happen too often. Let's switch it over to the Catholic High School League coach. Detroit Catholic Central 1-0 is at Toledo Central Catholic. The Irish are 0-2. Detroit Catholic Central won 21-7 a year ago. Irish have won the other 5 meetings in this matchup. Samson Gash, a 3-star wide receiver, is committed to Michigan State for Detroit Catholic Central. Other guys that they have, Benjamin Azuka, a 3-star interior lineman. He's headed to Penn State. Jack Jamja is a 3-star tight end headed to Wisconsin. Braden Sweeney, a 3-star linebacker, headed to Purdue. And Gideon Gash is a 4-star cornerback recruit. He's a junior, I believe. He's a top 300 recruit that they have. But another team that Central Catholic's going to see that has all kinds of Division I talent, just like they do. They've been close here the first 2 weeks as Greg Dempsey's team, but just have not been able to get over that hump at the end.
Yeah, and I feel like last week's one they could have gotten. They're at home, and all I can tell myself is that Central Catholic is not going to start 0-3. Can't happen, won't happen. Worthy opponent, star-studded lineup. Give me Central Catholic at home.
I never picked against Toledo Central Catholic. I'm not going to now.
Aren't you? I thought you might this week.
They're not going to go 1-3, are they?
No, I can't convince myself of that.
There's just no way.
There's not.
Even though this may be the best team they've seen yet.
I know. I think they maybe work out some of the kinks they've had.
Okay. Give me the Irish of Toledo Central Catholic in this one. Also in the CHSL, Orchard Lake St. Mary's 1-0 at St. John's Jesuit. Orchard Lake St. Mary's, they have some big-time talent. Chad Willis, a 4-star receiver. Angelo Chapman, a 3-star receiver. And Ryan Harrington is a 3-star edge rusher committed to Wake Forest. Give me Orchard Lake St. Mary's on Airport Highway on Friday night against Joe Horn and his crew. I know Joe's doing a great job, but give it a couple more years, Johnny fans.
Yeah, I too have Orchard Lake St. Mary's highlighted. I gave St. John some consideration because it's at home. Coach Horn has infused that program. I think they believe again, but I just don't think they're there yet. They're going to have some growing pains before that program gets rolling. Give me Orchard Lake.
Yep. Northwest Central Conference play begins this week. Marion Elgin 1-1 at North Baltimore, who is 2-0. First time since 2015. The Comets won this one 34-0 last year and 59-0 in 2023. Does Greg Bishop in North Baltimore have the mojo going that they open up NWCC play with a victory over Elgin?
Marion Elgin, Lynn.
Sledgehammer defense, right, back in your day?
That was Fremont St. Joe.
That's right. I always get those two mixed up.
I know you do, and we took St. Joe's Sledgehammer, and we turned the tables on them. Let me just leave it at that. 1991, first round of the playoffs at Lima Bath Stadium. Marion Elgin won the region, and they rolled into Lima Bath, and we pounded them.
Have they recovered from that?
I think they're still limping from that.
Okay.
Because now there's sons that are playing in that, and the dads, they come home and they want to know why dad's, got a long face, and son just thinking back to 1991. I think that's still happening down there. But I think they have enough. And I hate picking against North Baltimore because I'm rooting for them in this one. I am rooting for North Baltimore, but I am going with the Marion Elgin Comets in this one.
Took the words out of my mouth. Yeah. I'm going to go with the Comets.
Are you?
Yeah. I'd like to pick North Baltimore. I'd like to see them get to 3-0. But, sorry, Coach Bishop and North Baltimore fans.
Yep.
Hate doing it to you, but, boy, Elgin's been impressive the last couple of years.
Yeah, they have.
A lot to overcome. Going to take a break and come back and talk about Southview and Whitmer, Fremont Ross at Perrysburg as well right after these messages. American Freedom Energy and Grandma's General Store off Route 24 on State Route 109 just south of Liberty Center now has 88 unleaded fuel and is your one-stop shop for fuel, food, drinks, and much, much more, including locally raised meats and home-baked goods. American Freedom Energy and Grandma's General Store is proud to support Black Swamp Football and is the host of the Black Swamp Football podcast, football show in Saturday morning's Rise and Rewind. Stop in and see Glenn and Greg today and make American Freedom Energy and Grandma's General Store a part of your everyday routine. The fall sports season is here, and the Sports Place at Wassee-on-Ace has you covered. Stop in for all your football, volleyball, soccer, and golf practice gear and accessories. Did you know that the Sports Place at Wassee-on-Ace can create custom t-shirts while you wait? We can and we will. Come in with an idea and walk out with that perfect t-shirt of your own creation from the Sports Place at Wassee-on-Ace. We also offer custom embroidery. Whether it's a shirt, jacket, or other item, the Sports Place can fill your embroidery needs. Stop in and see us at 1495 North Shoup Avenue in Wassee-on. Welcome back to the Black Swamp Football Podcast presented by the Gerken Companies. Thank you to all of our sponsors this season, the Sports Place at Wassee-on-Ace, and also our hosts here at American Freedom Energy and Grandma's General Store, Greg and Glenn Badenhop. They take outstanding care of us. They have another tailgate happening here on Friday night with Otsego in town. Queso Kitchen is the food truck that will be here. I think a new food truck that has never been here, but boy, it looks like they have some great food, and I'm sure the Liberty Center and Otsego folks will turn out here on Friday night.
Be a lot of orange and black in the house.
Yeah, I think so.
That's awesome, and we appreciate Greg and Glenn Badenhop.
We'll get into that matchup on Friday night here at Rex Memorial Stadium, Kip Karen for you a little bit later on our show, as that is the game presented by the Sports Place at Wassee-on-Ace on our Gamecast this week. Otsego at Liberty Center. All right, Southview 1-1 is at Whitmer, also 1-1. Whitmer won 63-12 last year and 35-28 2 years ago. The Panthers fell a week ago, but boy, they seem like they may just have a little too much for the Cougars in this one.
Southview is one of those teams, Lynn. I'm not sure
I'm the same way.
Where they're at. I thought they showed real well against a Clay team. You know, Clay.
14-0.
Yeah, I thought they showed well against them. I was impressed with Clay.
Right.
Big and physical up front. Got some youth. Got a lot of sophomores. Those sophomores are really good. So I was impressed that Southview hung in there like that. But Whitmer at home, coming off a stinging loss. Smart money's on Whitmer in this one. Love to see Coach Hardy and those guys go pull a stunner.
Yeah, no doubt about it, but I'm going to take Whitmer in that matchup as well. Fremont Ross 2-0 is at Perrysburg. The series tied 3-3. Perrysburg won a year ago 35-0 and 49-20 2 years ago, which was the first meeting since 2008, which was the end of a 4-year contract of playing on the opening week of the season between the Little Giants and the Jackets.
Yeah, this will tell us where Fremont Ross is at. If Fremont Ross wins this football game, then they are a prohibitive favorite to win the Cardinal division. Now, I know some people have them by a pretty wide margin as the favorite to win the Cardinal. I am not one of those guys, and I'm a huge Chad Long fan. And I root for his success because he's a good dude and he does things the right way. I don't see it happening though, Lynn. Perrysburg at home. I think Perrysburg's a little better. Anthony Wayne gets a lot of attention. Whitmer, of course, does. I don't know that Perrysburg gets enough attention in the Buckeye division, but I like Perrysburg to win this game. My question is, can Fremont Ross be there in the fourth quarter? That's my question.
Closer to the 35 and 29 point margins the last 2 years?
If I had to put a score on it, the Perrysburg offense is pretty good. The offense is pretty good. I could tell by his kind of when he was addressing the team after their tough loss to Olentangy. Dirk Connor was, he could have chewed nails. You could tell he was mad because they were so close. They're going to have a great week of practice. I think somewhere in the ballpark of 31-7.
Okay.
and that's no disrespect to Fremont Ross, because, I mean, they're legit, but Perrysburg at home, I think, is going to crank it up this week.
I'll take Perrysburg in that matchup as well. Springfield, 2-0 at Finley. Finley has won 42-13 and 53-0 the last 2 years in the only meetings between these two programs. Closer than that, or do you have Springfield getting the victory, possibly?
I still can't take that leap yet, Lynn. I can't take the leap quite yet. We've sang Springfield's praises. They're improved. And Coach Arredondo, man, take a bow. You got them trending in the right direction. I have not seen enough body of work yet from Springfield to pick them at Finley. But I think it could be close. And if you'd asked me before the season what this game would look like, I'd have said the Trojans probably roll. I got Finley, but I think Springfield will give them all they want.
I'm going to say the same. I'll take the Trojans in that matchup, but a lot closer than it has been, I think, than the last couple of meetings in that one. Anthony Wayne, 1-1, is at Napoleon, 1-1. Anthony Wayne leads the series 11-9 and has won the last 8. Do you know Napoleon's last win in this series and the score, Coach?
I'm going to guess 2015, 14-8.
You're a year off and a point off.
Am I?
2016, 14-7.
Okay, I thought they got a 2-point conversion. I remember that game well, Lynn, except for a couple of the minor details. They were loaded coming in. Okay, they were loaded coming in. We were about average. Okay, and I won't go through all the details, but similar to what I said about Defiance against Walpock this week, we knew that if they had the ball, we were going to have some trouble. Okay, so we had to keep the ball away from them. And so we made up our minds, and this is honest to goodness truth, we made up our minds that we were going for it on 4th down almost always. Now, if we'd have been on our own 10-yard line, we weren't going to go for it. But we pretty much made up our minds that if we were outside of our own 25-yard line, we had 4 downs. And on our first possession, 3 yards, 3 yards, 2 yards, 4th and 2. Let's go. We get it. Next time. And then by having to get it on 4th down, you're eating up more clock. We bled the play clock down to 2. Anthony Wayne had 2 possessions, 2 in the first half. One of them, they completed a pass, and Alex Gerken, I remember who it was, Alex Gerken stripped the AW guy, we recovered it. That was 1 possession. It was like 2 plays. A run and then a pass, complete but fumble. And then they got another possession in the second quarter. 2 possessions. And now you still got to play great defense. And we did that night. We had Alex Andrews was a holy terror for us then. Randy Hilton was really good. We beat him 14-7, and on paper, we'd have been a 35-7 underdog. And we beat them 4 times. We beat them 4 times, and that's a feather. I mean, that's hard to do, man. They had some good teams. Beat them 4 times, and I don't know when the next time Napoleon will beat them.
Not going to beat them here in week 3.
So the jury's still out on George Eggers. I'm not even going to allude to the fact that I maybe have an idea one way or the other. So some of that's going to hinge on him. And I said this in Rise and Rewind. If Eggers is back, okay, now jogging and practicing a little bit is different than cranking it up in a real game. I think you need to have Hayden Groll and George Eggers on the field together if Eggers is indeed able to play. I think Porter Brungard, I think they might unleash him this week. I think Napoleon secondary, though, is pretty solid with Sarragan, Saucer, Hayden Gerken, high IQ, very, very talented safety for Napoleon. But I just don't know, even with the healthy George Eggers, if for 48 minutes they can hang in there. I think they can hang in there, but I've got to pick, because I have to pick, I got to go with the Generals.
Yeah, I do too in that matchup. I think they can take it to 9 in a row over Napoleon. Clay 1-1 is at Bowling Green. The Bobcats 0-2. Clay leads the series 6-1. BG's been outscored 96-14 against Perrysburg and Bryan so far. We'll see it getting any better for BG this week against a very talented Clay team.
Boy, I don't either. Scheduling Perrysburg right out of the chute, man, that's tough.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's tough. Yeah, Clay's going to roll here. Now, Clay's going to also get into, I think they have Napoleon next week then, and then they're going to get into that Buckeye division, which is going to be a tall order. So this is one they have to have. I believe they go on the road and get it. And I'll also tell you this. I think we're looking at a big offensive output from Clay in this one.
Yeah, I do too. I think they could put up a ton of points, and I'm going to take the Eagles in that matchup. Northview is 0-2, and they go to Start. Have not played since 1982. Start leads the series 3-2. Northview has been outscored 84-10 this season. Can Barry Bach give the Wildcats a triumph on Friday night on the road?
Well, they better. There aren't a whole lot of winnable games hanging out there for them. This is one they have to get at City League foe Start, but I can't pick them. I haven't seen enough, and Start always has some tough kids, always have some very athletic young men, so I'm going with the Start Spartans at home.
I am too in that matchup.
Will it be close? I know we don't know a lot about either team, but is Northview going to have a chance in the fourth?
I'll say no.
Okay.
I'll say no.
Okay.
I think Start builds a nice lead and rolls from there. Edgerton 2-0 at Montpelier 1-1. Edgerton leads this series 6-2. Edgerton won 49-6 last year, 35-0 in 2022, and 48-7 in 2021, while Montpelier won 34-28 in OT in 2023. Trying to maybe figure out what Montpelier is. Boy, Woodmore laid it on them a week ago, 48-6 after they knocked off Antwerp. Edgerton, no problems so far against Eden and Hilltop, scoring 83 and giving up just 14. But Eden and Hilltop, not what they're going to see down the road here in the Green Meadows Conference. But I think Edgerton gets to 3-0 heading to GMC play next week at Antwerp. Give me Brody Flagel and the Bulldogs.
Yeah, if Montpelier wants to, achieve some things they set out to do, this would be a great step in the right direction. But Coach Flagel, I agree. I think Edgerton, they're physical. He does a nice job coaching them up. I like him to go on the road and get it done. But if Coach Rob at Montpelier could pull this one out, that would be a big one.
No doubt about it. Antwerp is at Hilltop. Both teams coming to this matchup at 0-2. Antwerp leads 34-23 in the playoff era and has won the last 5 meetings against the Cadets. And I think Jason Hale gets win number 1 with his Archers this season before they go to Edgerton next week, and then at Hicksville and home with Tenora when Green Meadows Conference play kicks off.
I agree with you. I'm not betting against Coach Hale 3 weeks in a row. They're going to be 1-2 after this one.
Eden 1-1 at Hicksville 1-1.
Give me Bomber Ball. Although Hicksville, they're feeling good. They got their first win last week after a tough opener against PH. But I like Bomber Ball. Kendall Briggle and company will roll in there and get it done, I believe.
Yep, I will take Eden as well in that matchup. Crestview 1-1 at Wayne Trace. The Knights coming off that loss to Marion local a week ago. The Knights have won the last 10 and now lead the series 17-11-1. Coach Holden playing his former team in this matchup just down the road.
Yep, give me Crestview. I think they get that running game untracked, but we know that Wayne Trace has a propensity to play teams tough, especially at home. But I like Crestview.
I do too. Yep. Braxton Leaf and the Knights go on the road and get the victory for me. Paulding 2-0 is at Delphus Jefferson. Don't really know much about Paulding so far, Coach. Have scheduled a couple of pretty easy wins. Swanton and North Central put up 55 on Swanton, 60 against North Central. Haven't allowed any points, but I still don't know what Paulding is.
Nope.
Going into the GMC, and they're at Wayne Trace, home with Ayersville. Not sure that we're going to find out anything about Paulding maybe the first half of the season. We will September 26th because they have Fairview coming to town. Then they go to Edgerton.
Yeah, it's gonna be a minute before the verdict is in on them, and I like them to continue their winning ways at Stadium Park against Delphus Jefferson.
I agree with that. Mohawk 2-0 at Ayersville. First meeting ever. Warriors have beat Tiffin Calvert and Cardington Lincoln so far this season. Hoppers.
Oh.
Fresh walleye.
Fresh walleye.
Looks good, Hopper.
George.
Looks real good. I tell you what, that looks real good, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Lightly breaded, looks good.
I just lost all focus here.
I know. Fresh walleye.
Where will we at? Mohawk and Ayersville.
Yeah. First ever meeting.
Yeah. Can't do that to us.
Oh man, it smells good too. I'll take the Mohawk Warriors on the road at Ayersville. Pilots are going to need to ground and pound, control the football. They can do it, but I'm not betting against Mohawk.
Yeah, I like Mohawk to go on the road to Craig McCord Field and pick up the victory here against the Pilots. If they can just keep it together here in the first half of the season, the schedule gets a little bit easier for Ayersville in the second half portion of their slate. Bryan 1-1 is at Fairview. Fairview ended a 3-game skid against the Golden Bears last year, 34-6. I don't think that changes this year as the Apaches get it done. Will Zedike, Logan Olinger, Gavin Mead, and crew. I think they put up a bunch of yards and a bunch of points and roll at home at the reservation.
Can Bryan hang in there, Lynn, for 3 quarters?
No.
Okay. Fairview.
Yeah.
At home.
Go to Ayersville next week, do the Apaches, and then they are home with Tenora in 2 weeks. A game we will have on our Gamecast presented by the Sports Place at Wassee on Ace. And then they go to Paulding, do the Apaches.
Oh, that'll be a hot ticket.
About 2-3 weeks away from finding out where the Apaches are this season.
It'll be physical.
Yeah, it sure will. Archbold, 1-1, is at Tenora. The Rams 0-2. How about this? All-time Archbold 13-0 against Tenora. Renewed this series a year ago for the first time since 1988. You know what happened in 1998 in Archbold? What year? 1988.
88? Yeah, I do.
Do you?
State championship,
Championship, yep. They played until then. Archbold won 15-14 last year on the scoreboard.
I wondered if that was going to come up.
Maybe should have been a little different with the Tenora kick. Jacob Bishop at the end and was ruled no good. It was good, but Archbold picked up the win. Archbold has allowed 61 points all time against the Rams in 13 meetings. 61. 8 shutouts. 26 of the 61 points came in a 41-26 loss in 1984 for Tenora. History not on the side of the green and white in this game.
That is a crazy stat.
Yes, it is. Now, if you know what Archbold was in the 80s when they were playing, it's not a big surprise. Everybody was losing to Archbold back then.
Yeah, they were. And I give Coach Becker and Tenora so much credit the way they bounced back from that last year. I think it would have sent me off the edge. I don't know how you handle that, but I know they scored a little bit late last week, but I think Archbold's showing against St. Henry, and it's early. We'll find out more about both teams, but I think Archbold's improved this year.
Yeah, I agree.
I really do. And I think the Rams are going to have it strapped up, but I think Archibald's a little more physical this year than maybe they have been. So I like the Blue Streaks to continue their winning ways.
I like Archibald as well. Go ahead.
Do you see a scenario where Tenora could maybe
I think they have a chance in this matchup.
Okay.
Bringing back the 1995 team, I believe, is Tenora.
That's right.
For this one, their first playoff team they had.
Man. Boy, they had it rolling, didn't they?
Yeah, I think they lost to Woodmore in the playoffs maybe that season. Then Woodmore got PH the following year. Woodmore might be back. Are they returning to those days? Well, they've been impressive here the first 2 weeks. I know a little bit out of our coverage area, but do follow some scores outside our area, and they played some local teams, and
Yeah. They did. That was Ayersville's first round opponent at Luce Field.
Yeah, it was.
In Napoleon back in 86.
1986, that is correct. Yeah. Good memory there, Coach.
Yep.
Game that we will have on the Black Swamp Football Gamecast presented by the Sports Place at Wasion Ace, so we're not going to pick this one. Otsego, Craig Rutherford comes in at 2-0, facing Liberty Center, who is 2-0. No surprise there. Will Otsego have enough in the trenches to slow down this brutal Liberty Center running game? You saw what Garrison Cruz did a week ago. He had just annihilated Eastwood.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. And then this one obviously is going to come down to two things that are cliche, being able to run the ball and being able to stop the run. And you summed it up, Lynn.
I'll tell you one thing, the wind will have no effect on the outcome of this one.
No, it won't. It won't. But, yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Otsego's going to, they're going to have to bleed the clock. They're going to have to possess the ball. And then you're going to have to move the chains. And when you're playing against Liberty Center's defense sometimes, 10 yards looks like 30 yards.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to seeing the 2025 edition of the Liberty Center Tigers. And I'm also looking forward to see how Otsego is progressing under Craig Rutherford. So I'm tickled to be covering this.
Yeah, get a look at Liberty Center this week, a week after seeing Liberty Benton, who most experts feel are on a collision course in that Region 18 regional semifinal, regional final, depending on how the seeding lines up there. But excited to be out at Rex Lindgren Stadium in Kip Kern Field. Otsego fans, stop in here at American Freedom Energy. It's on the right side of the road just before you get into town. Off of on 109, Queso Kitchen will be here on Friday night for the first time.
Yep. Glenn, have they been here before? Queso Kitchen?
First time.
I know Lynn said that, and what, did you doubt me, or what? I thought
I don't have my facts straight?
I thought I remembered them being on the list last year.
No.
Okay.
First time.
All right.
They're promising to have a loaded kitchen.
A loaded kitchen. Okay. What are they noted for, Glenn?
Queso.
Well, I know that. That was a dumb question, huh? Okay. That looks pretty good.
All right. Nice little promotional video they have there.
Get on American...
Go to Facebook, American Freedom.
Yep, go on American Freedom Energy's Facebook page if you want more details. But Otsego fans, you're more than welcome to stop out here. Is the bridge still closed? Still closed. So if you come in on 6, you're going to have to take 424 to County Road 10 to S, and then that'll bring you almost directly...
Come across the bridge at Grand Rapids.
Or you can come across the bridge in Waterville or Grand Rapids and come down 24 too, if you want to avoid taking a little detour once you get to on the north side of the Maumee River.
I'll take it a step further. Otsego fans, Liberty Center fans, yes, but if you're in the surrounding area, maybe passing through or maybe on the edge of town, going to wherever you're going, stop in, check out Queso Kitchen, have a Pepsi here at American Freedom Energy, and you'd be welcome. They'd be welcome, wouldn't they?
Yeah, everybody's welcome. Yeah, it's a great tailgate. It'll be absolute best in the whole nation, I would say, on a Friday night. I don't know how many high schools do something like this, or a place like American Freedom Energy do a tailgate like they do it here.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Stop by and see them.
I urge you to come out and check that out on Friday night. And if you want to listen to us, you can get on our link on all of our social media pages and on our website as well. You can hear Tory and I start our pregame at 6:30, kickoff at 7 o'clock on Friday night. All right, Genoa is at Huron. Genoa 1-1, Huron 1-1. Series tied 4-4 all-time. Huron won 28-21 a year ago.
This is a starred game, Lynn. This is a starred game, toss-up game. Give me the Huron Tigers at home.
Give me Huron too.
Ooh, I thought you were going with the Comets.
Nope. Good pick there, Coach.
Okay.
We'll come back and talk about Maumee 0-2 as they have Waite coming to Kazmaier Stadium, and we'll round out this week's podcast right after these messages. Ashball Aerial is a fully licensed commercial drone company providing aerial media for commercial, industrial, and agricultural clients throughout Northwest Ohio. Want a different perspective for your events, construction projects, businesses, and more? Call 419-966-3202 or check them out at ashballaerial.com or look us up on Facebook.
High school seniors, uncertain that college is right for you? Concerned about the cost of higher education? At the Gerken Companies, we offer rewarding livelihoods even without a degree. That's a good living straight out of high school with no tuition debt. Starting pay between recent college grads and those with high school diplomas is closer than you might think. So if you enjoy teamwork, working outdoors, and being part of something meaningful, consider your options at GerkenCompanies.com/careers.
Thank you to the Gerken Companies for their continued support. Title sponsor of our podcast again this season and a rock-solid performance each week of the regular season. And also Ashball Aerial, a new sponsor, partial sponsor for our podcast this season. Boy, do some great work with those drones.
Yep.
Does Trevor Ashball. Boy, if you need something done, he can get a picture of your property if you want it in your house, or goes around to stadiums. He can do it all. I would like to fly one of those drones. You think Trevor would let me put that up in the air? I think it's foolproof. I don't think you can. I think you just program it and just let it go. I don't know that I can screw it up. Could I?
Well, he's probably got a nice one.
Well, I guarantee he does. I've seen his photos.
He may let you do it, but under his watchful eye.
Oh, not on my own? He won't just hand that over to me and say, here, Lynn, you can fly that around.
He's a pretty generous fella, I will tell you that. I coached him. He's a good dude. Does great work, Lynn, like you said. If you've seen some of his videos and some of his photos, oh my goodness. And glad to have him on board again.
Mm-hmm. Sponsored a Gamecast a year ago, wants to be a part of the podcast this season. But if you need some drone work done, Trevor can help you out.
Well,
AshballAerial.com, A-S-H, is it B-A-U-G-H?
that's correct.
Yeah, .com.
Yep. Good people.
He can get you some great photos. All right, Waite 0-2 at Maumee 0-2. What do you make of this one? Can the Panthers find a win column?
Well, there's going to be a lot of purple and gold at Kazmaier Stadium. Something's got to give. 0-2, 0-2, and I can tell you what's going to give. I don't want to ruin the surprise, but Waite's going to be 0-3 after this one. Maumee's stinging.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, I think Maumee gets on the board this week before going into NBC play. Rossford 1-1. The Fighting Todd Drewsbachs at Rogers 0-2.
Yes, absolutely. And I told you about Jackson Drewsbach, the sophomore, putting up some gaudy numbers. 2 rushing touchdowns, 2 passing touchdowns, and then 3 interceptions on defense.
His old man couldn't run like that.
No, not at all. And talking to Coach Drewsbach, he said Jackson gets it from his wife, which I believe.
Of course, we knew that.
If you've seen
kind of a given.
Yeah, so give me Rossford on the road, but I don't think it's going to be easy. I think it's going to be a close football game. And Rossford's kind of been treading water, trying to stay afloat, but I think they have enough to get it done at Rogers.
Rossford by 13.
Okay. 13.
Rossford by 13.
I like how definitive you were there.
Score, but that's the margin of victory. 13.
Okay. I think that's a good number.
Yeah. Wauseon 0-2 has to go to Eastwood, coming off that loss right here at Liberty Center. Eastwood won 48-7 a year ago. Can Wauseon find the win column here in week number 3 before getting into the NWAL?
We'd like to see them do it. They got roughed up there at Bellevue last week. I think Bellevue's improved from a year ago. Eastwood's NWAL tour here ends with a victory at home.
Okay.
I like Eastwood.
Okay, all right. I like Eastwood in that matchup as well. Evergreen, they are going to Lake this week. Is Lake going to play some defense? Are they going to play some defense? Giving them 56 and 56 to Lipsick and Northwood the first 2 weeks.
Well, I'm afraid the Vikings are rolling here. Okay, and boy, you'd like to think Lake has a puncher's chance at home. They should, but I like Evergreen to keep it rolling.
I do too. They're going to move to 3-3 in my mind.
3-0.
Yeah, or 3-0. Here's another game that the wind will not affect. Gibsonburg at Delta. How many passes do we see? Do we see 5.5?
5.5's the over-under. You said it Saturday. I love it. I'm going to take the over, but not by much.
Okay, all right. Grant Smith, the great running back for Gibsonburg. Nagel and Taylor for Delta. Ooh, should be a good one.
Yeah, I watched the replay, Lynn, of the Delta Fairview game, and camera angles weren't ideal. It was a great picture. It was a great video to watch. Camera angles were a little tough, but if you know what you're watching, you know it was a good video. I got this one starred. Close game, razor thin. Delta at home. I've got Delta at home. We'll see.
Mike Vickers isn't going to go 1-2. Give me the Panthers of Delta.
It's kind of my mindset.
Yep, I think they figure out a way to get the victory in that one over a very good Gibsonburg team. Matchup of 0-2 teams here. Ottawa Hills at Swanton. Swanton tied with Tuscarora Central Catholic with the longest losing skid in the state at 29. This may be Swanton's chance here in the final 8 weeks to get one. Is this it?
This is it. This is it. Last week was a golden
Hicksville
opportunity, and that one's come and gone. They start league play right next week. Ottawa Hills is limping in, though, to David Hansbarger Stadium. The Green Bears are limping in. I know what the Bulldogs of old would do. They'd smell blood in the water, and they would pounce. But I've got Coach Brandon Carter and the Ottawa Hills Green Bears to get their first win of the season.
Okay. Let's see what the odds makers are saying, what Drew Pastors has to say about this one.
I'd actually be curious.
Ottawa Hills is the pick to win by 29, 95% chance.
I mean,
if you were considering Swanton, that just dashed any hopes of me picking Swanton. I'm going to take the Green Bears.
Hey, one thing I want to do, I like doing this stuff because American Freedom Energy's been so good to us. And Lynn, you always take the brunt of the promotion, so it's my turn to throw my hat in the ring. Here's what we're going to do. So we have Liberty and Otsego tailgating here Friday night. And so what we'll do, if you are a fan of a different team from the surrounding area, okay, and you stop in here to American Freedom Energy Friday night.
Can I add a caveat?
I'm going to add one, but go ahead.
Well, I'll let you say it, and then if I need to adjust, I will.
Well, you've got to be wearing...
Okay, exactly what I was going to say. Because you can't be somebody from Napoleon who rolls in here and says, well, I'm a Liberty Center and Otsego fan.
Yeah.
I'm from Napoleon.
Yeah. So that's my caveat.
Yeah.
You got to be wearing spirit wear of your school, of your team, and I'll tell you what else you got to do. You've got to get a picture. I need video proof, okay? I need a picture. You get a picture with Glenn or Greg Badenhop, or you get a picture in front of our banner that'll be hanging here. It can be a selfie, and we'll get you your choice of brats and also a pack of buns to go with them. And you've got to say, though, Black Swamp sent me. Okay, and it's first come, first serve. Okay, we can't have 30 people from Wasion trekking in here. I ain't buying 30 packs of brats. But you tell Glenn or Greg, Black Swamp sent me, and give me some kind of a picture, and we'll get you brats and buns. And you know what? Depending on my mood, maybe a 6-pack of your favorite beverage.
Okay. All right. I like that idea. Yeah. Yeah, you gotta have that school's gear on.
Yes.
Because you can have some goofball come in here and say, I'm a Napoleon fan, or I'm a Wasion fan.
Right. Yeah, that ain't gonna cut it. And there's a chance you try to pull that, they either will know you or somebody we know knows you.
Yeah.
It's a small world, buddy.
Yeah, that's not gonna escape us.
No.
No fast one's gonna be pulled on the Black Swamp crew.
No. Black Swamp sent me. We'll get you brats, buns, and then I'm going to throw in a 6 of your favorite beverage.
Okay, nice. I like that. Have we had a winner who's won the other pack of bratwurst for the American Freedom Energy?
Put the magazine in this week. I put it in this week.
Okay, it was a magazine sold here at American Freedom Energy. So if my autograph is on the American Freedom Energy ad, you get a free pack of brats here at American Freedom Energy. We know who won was. That was Dylan Blankmeyer. He got his at Tabler's drive-thru down in Grove, I believe. Unless he drove, he could have went to Lipsick or he could have went to Findlay. I don't know where he got it at.
Well,
he could have went wherever.
Well,
he could have drove up here and got it here at American Freedom Energy.
Well, Sparty looking for your signature in the magazine.
I mean, he could have drove up all 40 of our locations and flipped through to find that one magazine.
Well, it's like the kids looking for the golden ticket in Willy Wonka. I can see, buying up all the chocolate bars for the golden ticket. I could see Sparty buying up all the magazines. Not even flipping through, just buying them. I could see it.
Yeah, he's pretty dedicated.
He might have spent $600 on magazines to win a $12 pack of brats. But for him, it's a pride thing.
Wouldn't be surprised.
It's a pride thing.
I wouldn't be surprised. Speaking of Columbus Grove, 0-2 at 2-0 Patrick Henry. Series tied 5-5 all-time. Been playing regularly since 2015 after the 1997 first-round playoff game. Grove won 27-13 a year ago. PH won 40-28 in 2023. Grove won 7-0 in 2022. Grove won 19-14 in 2021. Grove has not been 0-3 since 2017 and not lost 3 straight since weeks 2, 3, and 4 in 2019. Can they stop that trend?
Here's what I'll say, Lynn. I think this football game's going to be closer than many think it will be. I do. I really do. Now, Patrick Henry's my pick just because you're silly not to pick Patrick Henry in this game. But I think it'll be closer than people expect it to be. And I guess that's about all. I don't have a ton of analysis. Can Columbus Grove hold up in the trenches against this Patrick Henry line that in some ways mirrors that Liberty Benton line we've been raving about? And can they slow down the Patriot running game? Calvin Schrader, he's tough in the backfield, and I think they're kind of coming into their own on the flanks and things like that. So, but Columbus Grove's got to be able to run the ball, Lynn. They got to be able to run the football to keep the ball away from the Patriots. That's going to be tough to do on that defense. Everybody, I think a lot of times we like to talk about offense, and that PH's defense is lights out, man. And I know they haven't been tested yet, but they'll rise to the occasion here. But I think Grove plays them tough.
Give me PH by 21 plus.
Okay.
Patriots roll.
21 plus.
21 plus.
Okay. Will it be close at halftime?
It could be. It may not be. I don't know.
14-0?
That wasn't what I'm not getting into that. I'm just saying 21 plus at the end.
At the end.
You're trying to get too detailed here.
Hey, I like to look at all the segments of the game, how it's going to play out. That's what I like to look at. I'm going to say 14-0 at halftime.
14-0? I'm going to say 20-0. PH at halftime. Just to make you happy.
Isn't it fun?
I don't want you complaining all week. Well, you didn't pick the first half.
Yeah, isn't it fun, though? Don't you feel a little more fulfilled?
Not really.
Well, our listeners are going to appreciate it.
Yeah.
We're going to win by 20 plus. Well, I want to know how it's going to shake out.
We got 4 more games to pick here this week. Toledo Christian 0-2 at Lakota. Back in the 11-man game has not treated the Toledo Christian Eagles very well. They've been outscored 83-7. Lakota, they played Elmwood and Arcadia and ruled. I don't know if we know a whole lot about Lakota so far, even though they're 2-0. Toledo Christian still trying to figure out what they are here in this 11-man game.
I think this is a tough pick, though.
I do too. I don't have a feel for either side here.
And I've never really known enough about Lakota, to be honest with you. I've never really dug too deep into them. But the 2-0, I mean, I don't know how much it means. It means something. I think this is one Toledo Christian could get. I really do. But just based on the record and the Raiders being at home, I'm going to go with Lakota.
I'm going to go with Lakota as well in that matchup. Lima Perry 1-1 at North Central, who was 0-2. North Central's been outscored 117-0. They've had a tough time moving the football and stopping foes so far. Perry won 34-0 last year. Commodores going to be too much for North Central in this matchup. Give me Lima Perry to get the victory.
Yeah, I think this will be a fairly close football game. I truly do. But, yeah, I've got Perry on the road as well.
Sandusky Perkins 1-1 at St. Francis de Sales, who was 1-1. First meeting. Perkins, the Division IV state runner-up a year ago, came here to Liberty Center in a scrimmage and pretty much controlled that scrimmage. Now, I know it was just a scrimmage, and I don't think Liberty Center was in their traditional mode of offense in that one.
Right.
I'll say that. Perkins impressive. Maybe not the team they were a year ago with some of the dudes that they had, but still formidable. This should be a rock fight, and I'm going to tell you right now, St. Francis and us coming to Gallagher Stadium later in the season, it ends in week 3 because Perkins knocks off the Knights, and that's their 2 losses. St. Francis, sorry folks, going to Cherry Street, week 9 for the matchup for the Irish Knight.
Okay, I like
Perkins ends it. Ends it week 3.
On the road.
On the road. I'm just disappointed in St. Francis in that loss a week ago to Dwanger.
You're tough, man.
I'm sorry, man.
Well,
I expected more.
We needed some dissension because we've agreed quite a bit. We do have a little bit of dissension, but we've got dissension in the ranks, Lynn. Give me the Fighting Coach Linkeys and St. Francis de Sales. They have too much in the tank for Perkins. Mark it down.
They beat Wade and then 31-15 at Bishop Dwanger last week. Need to see more, Knights. I need to see more. You came roaring here saying that you could hang with Central Catholic. Not seeing it.
All right.
See if we see it here in week 3.
All right.
Final game we're picking, you're picking this week because it's a Northern 8 matchup on Saturday. Danbury 2-0 at Stryker.
Yep, I am going to I'm going to take the easy way out based on the records. I'm going to take Danbury on the road at Stryker. Would love to see the Panthers make it 2 in a row. But I'm going to go with Danbury in a close one, 36-32.
36-32.
Yep.
Ooh, some points being scored.
Mark it
on
down.
Saturday night. Nice. What's your lead pipe lock of the week? You didn't give one this week.
I didn't, and I was thinking about it as...
Do you want to give one before we conclude?
Yeah, I'll give you my lead pipe because I'm proud of it. And I think sometimes...
Because
the sense I
made it happen the first 2 weeks, right?
Yeah, I'm 2-0 with my lead pipe lock, and you can't pick a team that's a prohibitive favorite as your lead pipe lock. That doesn't take anything. And I think
Can I pick the game?
I know which mine is. I know what my lead pipe lock is.
Okay, let's hear it.
My lead pipe lock of the week. And some coaches might get mad about this because, I'm saying their team has no chance. But my lead pipe lock, if you're a bettor, take this one to the bank and lock it in. The Archibald Blue Streaks at Tenora. Lead pipe.
Okay.
You think Coach Becker's not going to rub my nose in it if I'm wrong?
It could be.
You know?
We'll find out. Saturday morning, 9 a.m. We'll recap that one and all the other area matchups on Rise and Rewind presented by the Swanton Welding Company. KK Collision Football Show this week. Travis Cooper, former coach of Defiance, he's working on a little project to help coaches out. We'll talk to him. Friday night we'll be at Rex Lumen Stadium as Seagull battles Liberty Center. And then we'll conclude week 3 with Rise and Rewind, Saturday morning, 9 a.m., YouTube Live. Have a great week, everybody, and safe health, and hope everybody stays healthy as we move through the season. Been far too many dying injuries so far this season.
Always.
Hate seeing it. Have a great week. We will talk to you again very soon.